Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. We're on our FA Cup special show here today, and myself and co-host Sean Maroney are joined by two very special guests here for this big weekend of football. So below me, we are joined by Phil Brown from Beyond the Pitch, and also we're joined by Chris from Leicester Till I Die TV, where we are talking all things Manchester United, all things Leicester City, and also we're talking Chelsea here tonight also. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about here tonight. So as we said, we're talking about all things Manchester United and all things Leicester and all things Chelsea. So first of all, just going to come to the guys here with regards to the midweek games during the week. Obviously, both Chelsea and Manchester United both had games in Europe this week, respectively. Manchester United were playing AC Milan in the Europa League last night. And also Chelsea were playing Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. So I'm going to come to you first, Sean, because obviously Leicester City we're playing them on the weekend, and it's a massive game in the FA Cup. We had a long stretch against AC Milan last night, obviously away from home in the San Siro, and it was a 1-0 win for Manchester United, and it was a game for United season in terms of Ollie's the quest for a trophy, and it was a very big game for the club. So just before we come to chat on your thoughts on the Chelsea game, I'd like to get your thoughts kind of on Manchester United's Europa League game last night, and kind of, I suppose, from an outside perspective looking in, kind of how you assess the game.
Yeah, no, it's a very, very good win for United to get over the line in the game. As you know, kind of from speaking to me, before the first leg, even I kind of would have downplayed Milan, but after seeing them in that first leg, they're actually a very decent outfit, very good footballing team, and they could have had a decent league going into the second leg against you. So they were definitely a decent side, and I knew that kind of going into the second leg that United has to be on their game to go through. Now in the first half, obviously, of that leg the other night, I don't think United played particularly well in the first half. Obviously, when Pogba came on, made a massive difference. He started pushing forward then, and I think you were definitely value for your money with the win. But I kind of think that was the one kind of stone you had to throw to get all the way in the Europa League. I think that was the biggest obstacle to get over. I think you will go all the way now after getting past Milan. I know you still have Arsenal there, and Ajax are fairly decent, but yeah, no, overall I think it was a very, very solid win for United, especially away from home after drawing the first leg.
Yeah, look, it was a tough game, and I was speaking to you yesterday. We were texting back and forth just about the game, and I was really nervous because obviously European nights they're never easy, and especially AC Milan being a big club as well, and especially how the first leg went, I was nervous wreck. But to kind of see kind of how it went and how we kind of in that second half we did kind of take control, and Paul Pogba coming on, and he was he's seen the balance of the game kind of turned on its head. So yeah, I'm really happy with the result, and kind of looking ahead to seeing the draw. Obviously today the draw at Granada is our first probably favourable draw of the season in all cup competitions when you really think about it. We've had some kind of really tough teams across the board. So yeah, look, really happy with the result, and again, look, it's another step closer to a trophy for Ollie, which I think he massively needs in his reign as manager. Phil, just coming to yourself with regard to the game. Obviously, you're a Manchester United fan, and you cover a lot of Manchester United. And coming into the game, obviously a lot of talk was about obviously how we'd set up and kind of how we'd approach the game. What were your overall thoughts on the game itself, and were you kind of glad to see Paul Pogba to come back into the side from injury and kind of give us that extra X factor up front?
Yeah, look, Paul Pogba is a totally different conversation today than what it was, 3, 4, 5 months ago. Back in October, I would have been happy if he never played for United again. I just fed up with the nonsense from Mino. I didn't really understand why 2 weeks after the transfer window closes, immediately after losing 6-1 to Spurs, he's talking to the media about Paul Pogba leaving. Because to me, that was Mino Raiola separating Paul Pogba from the mess at United when he's as much responsible for it as anyone else. But I think if there's some slight defense, I was listening to a clip from Darren Fletcher talking about this when Paul Pogba was at United as a youngster, and they didn't want to play him, which is partly why he left. And they were saying the feeling back then was that he was an attacking midfielder, didn't have the discipline to play deeper. And what amazes me is if United knew that back then, why was Mourinho persevering with him in a season United already knew he couldn't play? So they haven't really helped him get the best out of him. But we're seeing the best. The irony is we're seeing the best Paul Pogba we've seen at United, where it's very possible he could leave this summer. But United have him right where they want him because he has to play well to get that move. Probably more now than at any other time because there's not a lot of money out there. Or he has to get a new contract, one or the other. So I love seeing this Paul Pogba. I think United have missed him, which is something I never thought I would say a few months ago. His form prior to his injury was incredible. So he was very, very important. And his goal last night, look, it's not going to make goal this season, but it was a good goal. He took it well. And I was delighted. I think you're talking about a 7-time European Cup winner that had the best team Milan, and there's a lot of similarities between Milan and United, but best team they've had in a long, long time. I mean, Pioli was only supposed to be in there as a stopgap. Ralf Rangnick was supposed to come in, but they did so well under Pioli that they decided not to go ahead with the Ralf Rangnick whole overhaul of the club. So, and up until last weekend, Milan were in a title race. So I think people need to be a little bit more respectful. There's a modern commentary on football today that from young people who don't remember these great teams growing up and don't give them due respect. I think it's a great win for United away from home against a European giant. And you look at those quarterfinals onwards, there's really not a lot for United to be concerned about. But then United don't strike fear the way they once did. Solskjaer's done a good job this year, but they're still a very beatable team for any top team.
Yeah, I think like you look at the sides are left, and obviously you have Roma, Ajax, two teams who we could possibly draw in the semi-finals if we do get past Granada. I think out both of them, I think the team I probably fear most in the whole competition will be Roma, because the way they set up, they're a good defensive team. They're very structured at the back. Obviously Henrik Mkhitaryan, a former Red, being at the club though as well. We all know his qualities. He can be good on his day. So for me, if we do go through, I kind of hope we get Ajax. That'd be kind of a more favourable one for me in terms of the potential opponents. Chris, we obviously talked off camera just before the game. Obviously, we're playing on the weekend in the FA Cup, and we're away at the King Power on Sunday. When you watched the game last night, is there any particular, apart from Paul Pogba, is there any particular players on the pitch last night that kind of stood out for you in terms of standout performers?
I mean, it was Pogba. I was impressed with the sort of, the difference he made when he came on. The other player that sort of impressed me, because I was thought there was a mistake in him, and that's Henderson. And I thought he had a really good game.
Did, yeah.
He had the criticism from the first game, and again, from a Leicester point of view, I'm sat there thinking, make a mistake. And, get your confidence knocked down. But, it gives Ollie a great headache, because does he stick with Henderson now? Or I believe De Gea's fit again. Does he bring him back? But I thought Henderson had a good game.
Yeah, I thought he was very commanding. And one of the things I kind of noticed since Dean Henderson has come into the United side, and I've outlined this there last week on the channel as well, is the confidence it's after instilling in the two centre-backs in Lindelof and Maguire. They seem a lot more assured at the back, and you're kind of seeing that in kind of the last couple of weeks since Henderson has come in, that the two centre-backs seem to be more comfortable on the ball. They seem more assured, their position is good, and they're pushing up a bit higher up the pitch as well, which is something we haven't seen often this season when two of them have played at the back. So, yeah, look, I'm happy with the Dean Henderson situation. I've said already that I think maybe long-term he's Manchester United's number one. I think Ollie has a very big decision to make in the summer in terms of the goalkeeping one. I wouldn't like to be him. That's definitely a tough decision to make, two quality goalkeepers. But, yeah, look, it's all positives at the moment in terms of the defence, in terms of the goalkeeping situation. And look, hopefully it can kind of give us some more positives going forward, especially we're coming towards a very crucial stage of the season, especially with the Premier League running. Obviously, we're neck and neck nearly in the league as well, kind of fighting for that second place. And obviously, the FA Cup and Europa League, we're fighting on them fronts. I'd like to see the competition.
say, if I can, thanks for the 80 million for Maguire. But in fairness, you got to pay what. If you want to play, you got to play what we're asking, and we're in the position now where we didn't have to sell him, and if you wanted him, that was what we wanted, and eventually you did, and we've got a ready-made sort of replacement. I think he's settled in well now, to be honest. I think, like I say, he's better than the Maguire that everybody was having to go at when you first got him. But in a way, I'm glad you're in Europe because, leading up for the rest of the season, you have got those extra games to play. You players are going to get tired. They're going to have all these games, and we know with all the injuries that every club's got anyway, it's going to be worse for you. So long may you stay and go all the way in Europe, and it affect your Premier League form.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think in that regard, you kind of look at it like we hopefully we can't, obviously have that affect us in terms of the Premier League. Like there's a tough run in. Obviously Tottenham went out this week as well in the Europa League. So even though they're out race, to be fair, that their Jose's finish, I'm not even going to get on that. But in that regard, it's kind of, there's in terms of the top four, I think when you look at the top four at the minute, with all the teams outside of it, like the likes of Liverpool, the likes of Spurs, likes of Arsenal, Villa, West Ham, I don't think there's anyone who's there who's probably a viable threat at the moment in terms of closing that gap. I think like all three of us here, we all support Chelsea, United and Leicester. I don't think anyone's going to catch us in the top four. I think the top four is very cemented now. I think when you look at probably second to fourth, that's where the kind of reason is.
We thought that last season. Let's not get too confident here. Yeah. We thought you came up behind us last season and did it in the last game. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that's doing us well this year because we remember how we literally threw it away last year, and we did throw it away. I mean, the problem is that if somebody like, I think if Liverpool win the Champions League or Chelsea win the Champions League, there might be one place less for the from the Premier League. I don't know if that's right or not.
Usually it's one extra in it, but I don't know. That's a good question. Look, with regards to the top four, we know who's going to be champion, right? When you look at Leicester, I don't think people give them the credit they deserve. I mean, what has happened since that football club won the league and continuously stayed at the top of the table? Obviously, once they sacked the French lad, Brendan Rodgers' committee has done a decent job there. To keep Leicester in the top four, they buy so well. I mean, you go through that team, I would love about 6 or 7 of your players. I would love Yuri Tielemans. I think Fofana, Fofana was been a great signing, fantastic young centre-back. James Justin's been excellent. Harvey Barnes, magnificent young talent. You go through that Leicester team, Sionchu, who replaced Harry Maguire. They just buy so well, and you look at that new facility they just opened. It's absolutely gorgeous. This football club's here to stay, and I have to say I commend them because they weren't bought. I know obviously they have a Thai owner and he's put some money in, but it's not the level of an Abramovich or something like Man City's got. So they still had to be really smart and intelligent, and this is an exceptionally well coached football team that has got they've recruited tremendously well. They got a wonderful mix of young players too. I mean, if they need to sell, they've got plenty of talent there. And Didi's been amazing for them. James Maddison, there's just so many good players in that team. I know United sneaked that top four spot last season. They drew with Leicester, of course, early in the season with Eric Bailly's late own goal. But it's always such a difficult game. And I have to say, I wasn't confident going there the last day of last season. I wasn't confident going there this season, and I'm not confident the weekend. They're not just a respect for Leicester. I think they're such they're not at the top in the top four by accident and don't get the credit they deserve for being in the top four. Given that
that's the nicest thing a Man United fan has ever said to me. No, and we do appreciate that because if you watch Sky, we don't exist. We never get a mention. I mean, excuse me. I mean, we won the Premier League, and that was a one-off, and it will never be forgotten. And it was an amazing season to have lived through. We did struggle a bit after that because expectations go up. We had Puel come in. You know, we got rid of Ranieri, which, in fairness, we had to because we were on the point of going down. Shakespeare, he was more of a coach than a manager, so he eventually went. Puel got a lot of stick, and at the time, I didn't like the guy, but he had a lot to do with the youngsters that are coming through now. And I think sometimes with the manager, the better when you look back at them and look at it to take your glasses off and see what, you know, they really achieved. And he did bring, you know, the Harvey Barnes and the young players through. And that training facility we've got now, you know, I mean, you're talking about Yuri Tillemans. I was just reading before I came on tonight. We bought him for 40 million. And we're talking about a new contract. We can afford to pay them like the 100,000 because of, you know, reasonably rich owners. Inter Milan are interested in Yuri Tillemans, and they're offering 34 million. Now, if they think that we're going to sell a player for less than we bought him, with the facilities we've got for the training ground, they're no better than we are. In fair, I mean, all right, yes, they are technically, but you know. We know the statement we made with Harry Maguire, and I know you guys, in a way, I say you did pay over the odds for him, but that was the statement we were making. And it's the same with Chilwell when he went to Chelsea. Yeah. If you want one of our players, don't come in with a stupid bloody offer like 34 million. You know, you're going to have to come in with 80, 90 million for Tillemans. And you prove to him that you've got the facilities that we can offer him. You know, we're not going to suddenly win the title every year. We're not going to become a Man United, a Liverpool, a Man City. But, you know, top 4 or 5, you know, hopefully we're here to stay.
I think...
Sorry, can you go ahead, man?
I'll be honest here, right? And me and Sean actually had this discussion. Like, our group chat, for the weekly Armchair Kickoff, this channel, we have a group chat, and like we've all different fans from all different clubs. And we actually said that we think that Leicester have eclipsed Arsenal, and we think they should be replacing Arsenal in the Big Six because Arsenal haven't done anything in the last 6-7 years. And like when you consider them in the league and look what Leicester have done, Leicester have won a Premier League more recent than they have. And you look at what Leicester are doing in terms of showing consistent progression. And as Chris rightly mentioned, like you look at the so-called Big Six that Sky mentioned the whole time, and the broadcaster has mentioned, Leicester are never included in that conversation. I think it's massively disrespectful to when you actually think about they're a more recent Premier League title winner than Arsenal. They've finished higher in the league in the last few years than Arsenal, and you look at the overall thing what they're doing with probably a much less net spend in the last decade. So you have to say like there's a massive disrespect, you know, in that regard.
We call ourselves the Invisibles because that's what we feel we're like. And you see, this thing with the Big Six is I'm an older fan. I've been around the planet a few times here, and you know it's what makes a club one of the Big Six. Technically speaking, should Bolton not be included? Because years ago, Bolton were a huge club. Yeah. You know, you can't. History can't make. You know, not long ago, Man City they were down in the third tier with us, and then suddenly they're one of the Big Six. It does annoy me, the Big Six, and I don't know whether we will ever be classed as a Big Six, but maybe we could make it into the Big Seven rather than sort of say we've got to replace somebody. Just extend it, but. You know, it's a media thing. They seem to love this Big Six thing, but I don't agree with it personally.
You're sitting with a 2-time European Cup winner in the Championship. That to me is a bigger club than Man City and Nottingham Forest. The only difference between City and Forest, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Man City at all, but you know, take a look at Nottingham Forest and their legacy on English football, and Brian Clough, and again, like a 2-time European Cup winner. That's not to be sniffed at. Peter Kenyon once said at Chelsea that to be a European giant, you have to win 2 European Cups. Well, they should have just bought Forest then, because they'd already done it. So the thing is, like, this is this massive disrespect to these football clubs. And you look at someone like Spurs, that often gets included in the top 6. by what metric are they in the top 6?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe by the size of the stadium, okay, but certainly not in terms of form or anything else. And they haven't been for a long time. You see someone like Leicester, you go back to the Premier League years, even recent, whenever money really became a factor. Even when Blackburn won it, it wasn't an anomaly. It was because of Jack Walker's money, right? But with Leicester, that was also a metaphor for life for everybody. That sometimes the right guy wins, and they done it doing everything right. They, their star striker, Jamie Vardy, a guy came from the lower leagues. They invested so well throughout the football club. Ranieri, an unlikely Premier League winner. That to me is one of the greatest achievements in world sport, because that's not a one-off. That's 38 games. You have to be consistent over 38 games, and everybody up until about March was saying Leicester will fall apart until they didn't fall apart.
Yes.
Oh my
including
God.
all us Leicester fans, to be honest with you.
As a neutral, mate, I'm sitting there going, I want Leicester to win this, because I think it's important. Football today is becoming too concentrated with money, and it's becoming boring, predictable, where it's the same teams in the last 8 in the European Cup all the time. I missed the days of the 80s, where I was a young kid, and you would see Rapid Vienna, you would see Star Bucharest, Red Star Belgrade, and it wasn't just about money then. Today,
I think with the Leicester story as well. Sorry, I'm going to talk over you. I think with the Leicester story as well, what made it special was the fact that we'd only just avoided relegation the year before. I think had we sort of gone 10th and 9th and 10th for 2 or 3 seasons and then won it, it wouldn't have been such a huge story. But
Ferg played him because they didn't sack Nigel Pearson. They kept him until the end, and it would have to keep him up was an unbelievable feat, because expected him to go down. But that's a great point. I forgot about that the year before.
Yeah, and I think Nigel Pearson we didn't actually sack him as such. I mean, unfortunately, it all ended. And I love Nigel Pearson. I met him a few times. I mean, I lived down in Bournemouth. He came, when he came down to play Bournemouth, we were both in the Championship. I met him. He was really nice. Had time for you. But of course, we had the Thailand episode, with the young players, and one of those happened to be his son. And whatever you say about Nigel Pearson, he sticks up for the players, not just the fact that one of them happened to be his son. But it happened to be in Thailand. It happened to be our owners are from Thailand. What they said, and this was sort of 4 or 5 years ago. If they said it now, they'd be crucified. But
it must have brought back memories for you for La Banga, whenever Stan Collymore and the rest of the boys were over there.
You know what? I mean, the Stan Collymore one again wasn't the worst one, because the year before that we'd had the Paul Dickoff and Keith Gillespie alleged rape thing. And I can remember my son coming in from school, and I'd got Sky Sports News on, and he was young, and he said, "Oh, what's rape, Daddy?" It's like, I wasn't expecting to have this conversation with you at this age, son. But yes, it how often do we always say, footballers are good with the feet, but none of them have got brains?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Just kind of like we're on about kind of Leicester's like the progression they've made since they win in the league. Like Phil said it, I think he's spot on. He said it's really impressive that like you didn't just win one league title and go away. You're still there and thereabouts, kind of challenging for the top 4 the last couple of years again. I think like Rodgers there is kind of like bringing a lot of stability, and he's a very good coach. The team is well coached there. Obviously, us at Chelsea, we've seen different with stability over the years with kind of managers coming and going. Obviously Lampard left this year halfway through the season, and Tuchel has taken over. Phil, I'll just go to you first. What's your opinion on Tuchel? How do you think he's doing at Chelsea? And obviously he had a great result during the week, but
I mean, look, it's almost Solskjaer-esque whenever Solskjaer took over United, where it was a complete contrast to what had gone before, and all of a sudden Chelsea are finding confidence, they're finding form, they're looking like a team that plays to their strengths. I think one of the big challenges that Lampard had, and I said this at the time, because a lot of United fans were envious of Chelsea's signings. I said, once you buy 5 players, you change the whole dynamic in the dressing room, right? So now new leaders have to emerge. And if I think 5 of the 6 players Chelsea bought were never played in the Premier League before, when you bring that many players in from abroad, if they don't start well, it gets inside their head because they're still trying to convince themselves they can play in Premier League football, right? Because sometimes it happens. We see it with Van de Beek, where sometimes they come to the league and they're just not ready. So when you start poorly, then I think it gets really difficult to recover that confidence and belief. And then you need a change like Tuchel, who knows these players, knows Havertz, who knows Timo Werner. I mean, I saw Timo Werner in Lampard's last game, and the guy, honestly, the guy looked like he didn't belong at that level of football. And clearly a quality striker, but clearly you could. So I think what Tuchel has done has been very good. I have to say though, I'm not really, when I look at Tuchel's past, it doesn't stand out to me. You know, he didn't Dortmund sack him, and then he went to PSG, and then we can't really judge. I mean, unless he wins the European Cup with PSG, I mean, the French league is not serious for them. So that being said, I don't blame them for sacking Lampard. You're not going to get time at Chelsea. Tuchel has done a very, very good job, but the ultimate barometer for Tuchel will come with trophies. It'll come with, you know, it's not going to be about patchy form where you finish strongly. We just talked about this with United, where they went on a run from January and caught Leicester, who were double digits ahead of them. So, but you still can't say Solskjaer's been a success by United standards. You know, he's definitely improved the football club. But with Tuchel, I think, you know, if I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm delighted so far with what I'm seeing, because he's getting the best out of players that didn't look like they were going to make it at Chelsea, and they've got a very talented squad. So I think he's done a great job. He's quite a likable guy too.
Yeah, like what I'm actually most impressed by is kind of, obviously you said like the size of the squad there. It's a very big squad, and it's how he's kind of, I know it's only 14 games, but how he's kind of keeping everyone happy there at the moment.
Yeah.
And like even the extended panel, they seem to be kind of united and stuff. Even Emerson got his first few minutes the other night under Tuchel against Atletico, scored obviously, but you can kind of see the bond after the game and kind of like in training and stuff, you'll see it like, but that's what's kind of impressed me most of them. Obviously, like you said, kind of sacked by Dortmund and PSG. Most of it wasn't really result wise, but
PSG wasn't result wise,
it's actually kind of like arguably the reason behind it could be more worrying than results. Obviously, he fell out with the board of both clubs, and obviously the Chelsea board aren't like they're not shy. Obviously, he's fallen out with a couple of managers before, so that may be the only kind of downside. But at the moment, I'm like very, very happy with how he's setting up the team and how organised we look. If we still had Lampard there, like obviously, no disrespect, love Lampard, but just with the way the start of the season was going, I don't think we're really going anywhere. Probably wouldn't have got past Atletico in the Champions League and kind of having a bit of a run that we're having now. But I think it was the right decision to make that change. But hopefully we can keep it up now going towards the end of the year and push, maybe get a trophy and get top four. But yeah, I've been really impressed so far with Tuchel, and hopefully take it into the summer. Chris, what's your opinion on Tuchel at Chelsea?
I find Chelsea a bit of an anomaly, really, because their success is built on we just get another manager in. And, you know, for Chelsea, finishing second and ending up in two semi-finals would be sackable for the manager. And I find it hard to say, because people would then say, excuse me, but you sacked Ranieri after he just won you the Premier League. You know, it is all about success and money. I mean, I would argue that the Leicester one, we did look like we would probably go down if we'd kept Ranieri. I mean, Chelsea, I like Frank Lampard, and I thought he did all right. And excuse me again, with Frank Lampard, he had, as far as I understand it, looking from the outside, he had no money. He couldn't go into the transfer market. He did what Chelsea hadn't done for years, which was bring young players through. He had, if you'd have said like last season, you would have finished third, was it second? Sorry, you finished. I can't remember exactly where you finished last season. But
fourth in the end, yeah. But we got top four.
Fourth. But if you'd have been given that at the start of the season, you'd have said, "Bloody hell, yes, please."
Yeah, definitely.
and it wasn't good enough this season, and it does annoy me that, and Leicester fans, we're ending up like that. That teams, Man United, Liverpool, also because of what you did in the past. It doesn't mean that you're going to have success year in, year out, and it's never, going to, just just because Liverpool had the success with Paisley and the managers that followed, doesn't mean that they're going to be the same for the next 30 years. Same with United, when Ferguson left. And I'm pleased to see that they're sticking with Solskjaer, because earlier in the season, he was possibly one of the favourites to go.
Yeah.
So you've had the new manager bounce. You're not letting goals in. You're not particularly scoring them. That's the thing as well. You're not knocking them in. So your goal difference is a bit worse than us and United. I'm hoping that new manager bounce ends soon. Please.
Yeah. Yeah, no, obviously for the first 6-7 games, I think I kind of had that in my head as well, new manager bounce. But I can see it going until the end of the season, at least. I think it's kind of gone past the stage now where I see like kind of new manager bounce. He's really impressing me. And it's not even that. It's just the fact that he's setting us up with the personnel he has. He's setting us up perfectly for what he can work with. I think. I know we brought in a lot of players in the summer, so it's a bit silly to be saying what he has and what he can work with. But like some of the players kind of there, I don't think if you're going to be kind of challenging for a title, like if you're having like a Marcus Alonso, who was a very good wing back, but cannot play left full. Chilwell has been very underwhelming. Like players are kind of like, obviously Phil touched on it, like at the start of the year, and kind of up until now, Werner and Havertz haven't really impressed, and it's only their first year there, obviously, but kind of what way the squad was when he came in, like the shape it was in, I think he's doing really well there. And like I do think we're going to get top 4 now, mostly because the chase and pack, I don't think any of them are really serious. Obviously Liverpool. Yeah, go ahead.
I forgot to say earlier, thanks very much for the 50 million for Chilwell as well.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was sitting here and I was waiting for it, but it didn't come. But yeah, hopefully he can turn it around. But like at the moment, yeah, it's kind of, he hasn't been too impressive. But yeah, like I was just going to touch on there, I just don't think the chase and pack are kind of that serious, really. That's what's kind of giving me more confidence. Chelsea are just solid and well organised, and even if kind of Liverpool put a run together, obviously a good side, Liverpool, they're still that 6-7 points behind. Don't think they're going to make up the ground, and I think Spurs now could fall asunder after what happened during the week, especially playing 120 minutes and playing Aston Villa away on Sunday. But yeah, no, that's when Tuchel came in, we were so far behind the top 4. I kind of just said to myself, right, steady the ship, try and get top 4 at the end of the season. I didn't expect a run in the Champions League after drawing Atletico, but kind of have something to build on in the summer and going into next year. That's what I wanted, and he's delivering so far anyway. So I'm happy enough with that. Keane, how do you find Tuchel's reign so far, and the result against Atletico during the week obviously was very impressive?
Yeah, look, for me, I was vocal when Chelsea got Tuchel because, look, I didn't really rate him. I'll be honest, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I didn't rate Thomas Tuchel, but to be fair to me, he's come into Chelsea and he's completely turned them around. Like I honestly thought they were finished outside the top 4. I thought they would have been to a club that, might, with the Lampard effect and the fact that they had a lot of players to bet in, I thought they might finish 6th this season. And I thought I thought they might take Chelsea a year to kind of get all them players in and kind of get the squad United as a whole. But to be fair to Tuchel, he's come in, he's made the team organised, he's made them hard to beat because they weren't that under Lampard. I think he always felt like he can get a chance against Chelsea, like in terms of breaking them down. Like they played a high line, they played open, and they left themselves to kind of be got at. But not to be fair to Tuchel, he's come in for a fantastic result over 2 legs against Atletico Madrid. I didn't fancy Chelsea to go through at all, and the draw was made. But no, looking at it now, fair play to him. Look, we'll see kind of how it goes now because obviously the top 4 this season is definitely a priority. Obviously Sheffield United as well on Sunday, massive game for Chelsea to obviously try to get a win and obviously get to Wembley for a semi-final as well. And it's one step closer to a trophy and maybe getting redemption for last year's FA Cup final defeat as well. So, like, I think when you look at it in that perspective, I think there's a lot. It's promising for Chelsea, especially when you look at all them new signings to be there after a season. And you probably remember as well, like Roman Abramovich will probably will maybe look to add to what the current crop of squad is, like maybe look into get a striker in the summer. Maybe Tomori might come back from AC Milan as well. He's done very well there too. I think they should bring him back. After watching him in the 2 games against United, I thought Tomori was outstanding. I know Chelsea are looking at Gimenez and Atletico, but for me, Tomori, he's young, he's English, quick. And I think like he's someone who definitely can maybe come back into that Chelsea side, and maybe like if Thiago Silva stays there for a year, it might be worth it, for him learning from someone like Thiago Silva, who is an experienced figure and maybe better his game as a defender.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I do think Tomori is going to be gone in the summer. Chelsea do want him back, obviously, but Milan have that option. It's going to be down to Tomori, really. Milan have the mandatory option to buy him. Whether he wants to stay there or not is another thing. But if they pay the money, I can see him going there, which is unfortunate because I really like Tomori. I think he's actually better than some of the centre halves we have at the club. Another option there, obviously, is Mark Guy. He was on loan at Swansea, very good player as well, young. Could be another player that's going to come through. Yeah, like I've obviously voiced before about him, and I really like him, but I just think the release clause that Atletico are looking for, I don't think Chelsea are going to pay that. I think the priority this summer is going to be a striker, and to try and build on that in the summer. But yeah, just from the point that Shane sent in there, actually, Keane, if you want to go through that, just about Ndidi there.
I was going to go straight to Phil this because there's a lot of Manchester United fans who do want Manchester United to sign Wilfred Ndidi. And Shane has asked, what are the panel's thoughts on Ndidi as a player? Lots of United fans would like him to sign him, but personally, I think he'd be Schneiderlin 2.0. What do you think about that comment?
Is that me, man? Chris would be better to answer that question than me, to be honest, because he would know more about it. But Ndidi, as far as, from my limited observation, he's been one of Leicester's best players this season. Fantastic midfielder. Very, very, very good player. I think Chris has already covered this, that if you're going to come for Leicester's players, bring deep pockets. United don't have big deep pockets right now. And so I don't see them going after other Premier League players that are established because they're going to cost a lot. I think United will look to pick off maybe one top signing with a couple of young players. It'll be very much like we saw last summer. So I don't see someone like Ndidi going to United. There's no way. In fact, we talk about Haaland here, right? And Abramovich everyone's promised him, right? Every top club wants him. How could you not want Erling Haaland? Who wouldn't? But United, I'm not saying Erling Haaland either, because now Dortmund are in a perfect position where the buyout clause is only relevant if someone meets it and there's no other buyers. Now they can get in the bidding war. The buyout clause is irrelevant. And this, remember, was the reason why United refused to go through with the signing, which is absurd. And I really don't understand fans that celebrate this. I mean, if you want to support a bank and hold your scarf up because you save money, go ahead. I support a football team, so I want to see my club spend money on football players. So and not to lose out on a player because of a buyout clause in the future. It's absurd. When you're fixated on selling a player before you buy him, and that's the reason why you don't. And I think that says a lot about your football club and what you value. Yeah. So I don't see Ndidi happening. And lads, I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to have to run, but I don't see Ndidi happening. In fact, we talked about Harry Maguire. One of Maguire's biggest problems is Lindelof is too similar to him. He plays better with Bailly because Bailly is very different. He's quick. But with the way Premier League teams play now, very few of them play with an out-and-out number 9 that's lightning quick. So United don't play Bailly a lot. They play him against teams like Wolves, where you've got a Adama Traore or something like that. But other than that, I think Lindelof and Maguire are too similar. United are prioritising a right wing and a centre back. So whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But lads, I'm going to love you and leave you. So thank you so much, Keane. Thanks for having me on, lads, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Perfect. Thanks, Phil. Really appreciate it.
See you later, lads. Cheers, lads.
Cheers. Thank you. So that was just Phil Brown here. He's on the show from Beyond the Pitch. Fantastic channel he has over there, Beyond the Pitch. Covers all things Manchester United, interviews journalists, players, coaches, the lot from the club. So do check out Phil's channel after this. It is in the links in the video description under the video, as is Chris's channel as well. They also recorded a Manchester United versus Leicester preview tonight as well. So after this podcast has finished, do jump down, do check out both of the guys' channels, and do hit the subscribe button as well, and show your support because they both do great work on both of their platforms. But kind of just touching on Sheffield United, because they're the team that's playing Chelsea at the moment. And obviously Chris Wilder, who was a highly thought of manager in England, and he'd done a fantastic job with Sheffield United. Recently, after leaving the club, and he's tipped to either take the Celtic job or the Crystal Palace job. Either job will be kind of, I suppose, a step up and it'd be a good job for him. But kind of get both your thoughts just briefly on Chris Wilder and kind of his situation, kind of leaving Sheffield United. Sean, I'll come to you first. With regards to Chris Wilder, what do you make of the situation, him leaving Sheffield United, especially ahead of this big game?
Yeah, no, I think it's a shocking decision on Sheffield United's part, to be honest, because looking at the table, they're going to go down regardless, no matter who's manager there. And I think like a big part of if you go down to the Championship, you see it this year with Norwich and that, you need a lot of stability to come back up. You see Norwich kept Daniel Farke there. A lot of their players they're looking like they're going to come straight back up. I think Sheffield are going to need that next year. And without Chris Wilder there, I just don't see them coming back up. I know they can get in a different manager. They might get a decent manager in there. But I just think it's going to make a big difference having that stability gone. You know, a lot of the players really liked Wilder. I think he's a good manager. Obviously didn't go to plan this year. Big change from last year where they just missed out on Europa League places, did they, Keane?
Yeah, they just about missed out, yeah.
Just missed out, yeah. It's a big change this year, but like I just don't see it's the timing and the decision. I just think earlier on in the year, fair enough, if you think that a new manager is going to come in and you're going to get that new manager bounce and turn it around and stay in the Premier League, but at this stage it's just, I think it's ludicrous.
Yeah. Chris, what are your thoughts on the situation with Chris Wilder leaving?
We played them last week, and we as Leicester fans, me especially, was surprised at what we saw. I mean, it was a team there that are just like, like somebody just lost the beloved granddad. He was part of the furniture there. He was a player. The fans loved him. The players loved him. He fell out with the owner. I mean, they're owned, and this. I'm quoting you here from Sheffield United fan sites when I was talking to them and did these shows with them. He is the Prince Harry of the Saudi royal family. He's the one member of the royal family that hasn't got any money, and Chris Wilder's had to. After the season they had last year, and I know the second season is always difficult, but they should have been out spending the money, strengthening. And the money that he had, unfortunately, he didn't spend very wisely, but he didn't have a lot of money to spend. And the owner wanted to bring in a director of football. Chris Wilder said, no, I'm the manager. And apparently that's why they fell out and why he's left. I don't know whether the Celtic job would be right for him. I think he'd probably do better at Palace. But I just sometimes wonder... And as fans of other clubs, it's difficult to say. And like I say, people will throw back at me, Ranieri had just won you the Premier League and you've sacked him. But I do wonder sometimes at the mentality of some of the owners and the decisions that are made. And like you say, look at Sean Dyche at Burnley. He took them down, he brought them back in. You mentioned Farke at Norwich. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. Who is going to do a better job at Sheffield United than Wilder has done? And I think he'd have possibly brought them back up if he could have held on to the players. Football sometimes it's just beyond me.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking ahead, obviously, to a big game this weekend, obviously between Sheffield United and Chelsea. Do you believe Sheffield even have a chance? I look at it. I look at how Leicester dominated them last weekend. It's very bleak for them. I look at Chelsea. They're on a bit of form. They're definitely on the up. New manager bounce. With Thomas Tuchel there, do you believe they have any chance at all, or do you think is the magic of the FA Cup maybe could kick in on the weekend?
Is that me or Sean?
Yeah, it's good to both of you. I'll come to you first, Chris.
No, Chelsea, if they turn up like they did for us, Chelsea will just totally wipe the floor with them, and they'll probably get more than 5. If a team, when that has just happened, can't go out with a bit of pride, and we thought it was going to be, really hard. We were predicting 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, something like that. And it was like playing a training game for us. I mean, it literally was, I say it was men against boys. And Chelsea will just, if they can't raise the game for that, then they can't raise the game for anything. And I think Chelsea will just absolutely demolish them.
Yeah, I feel that too. I think Chelsea will be too strong for them. I think even if Chelsea even rotate the team, which I do believe they will, because obviously they're fighting on Champions League and Premier League front, I think they still have enough to beat them. Sean, do you have any concerns whatsoever Sunday?
I think it's the first time ever that I don't. It's not even like, obviously Leicester walked over them 5-0, and it's not the scoreline that like makes me believe they don't have a chance against Chelsea, because look, Leicester are a very good side. They can hit 5 against anyone, as you can see earlier on in the year against Man City. But it's just the manner of, like Chris said, of how Sheffield United played. Like, they just look lost, and I think it's going to be the same this weekend. Obviously, in the comments there, and we've seen kind of everyone talking about it. Really, it's true. Like, Chelsea haven't been scoring enough, but I think we've been creating, but we're just not. We haven't put the ball in the net. We can't do it. But I think there is a game coming where Chelsea are going to put 5 or 6 past the team, and I think it could be Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, can I just ask you a question? What sort of team would lose to Sheffield United?
I don't know. I don't know.
I have an answer. I have an answer for that. If there's any team in the world who would probably lose them in this situation, looking at their current form, it's probably Spurs, because they're in the toilet, to be honest.
No, I think I was referring to Man United, actually.
Well, wasn't so long ago.
Well, look, to be fair, I
think that
we do like giving out a result now and again. Like, Ollie's a nice man, the babyface assassin and all that. Like, like he's a nice man. He likes to give out an odd result every now and again. But obviously the marquee game this weekend in the FA Cup is Manchester United versus Leicester City. People may say that Manchester City versus Everton may be the marquee game, but Manchester City, are a dead club, like in terms of a fan base. Like they may be good on the pitch, but like they've about 5 fans. So like I don't think like when you look at Manchester City, that'll be a big game on the television. Obviously United and Leicester, 2 teams who are fighting in the league in similar positions. So yeah, for me, like it's a massive game. Manchester United versus Leicester City. Obviously both teams have injury problems. Though recently, obviously United had a couple of injuries kind of coming back in Donny van de Beek and Paul Pogba. Looks like we still have a couple of players out in Martial, Joe Rashford, Juan Mata, Eric Bailly is out as well. So we have a few injury concerns. Obviously, Leicester have a couple of long-term injuries there. Chris was mentioning we have Ricardo Pereira, James Justin, and James Maddison, Harvey Barnes out as well. So like both sides have their injury problems coming into this game. Obviously, Man United are coming back from a Europa League tie at the San Siro. So obviously, like Leicester City kind of have the extra couple of days rest and a couple of extra days to kind of mentally and physically kind of prepare for this game. Chris, just going to come to you first, obviously, because you have an invested interest in this. You're a Leicester fan. When you look at both teams' injury problems at the moment, but you look at Leicester's at the moment, there's more significant kind of first team players who are out this weekend in terms of like the Maddisons, the Barnes, the Pereiras, the Justins of the world. Even with United's a couple of days, so obviously tripped to the San Siro, would United be considered favourites for this game, considering their away record this season?
I mean, I would put United as favourites because we've only beaten you once since we've come back up, in the 5-3. Since then, you've taken great delight in stopping us winning. But, it's so difficult to predict any game this year because there are so many injuries. I mean, at the start of the season, we had a lot of injuries. We had Christian Fuchs play sort of 9 games on the trot. The poor guy's nearly ready up for his pension. And he played more games in the first, 10 games of this season than he played in the previous 3 seasons put together. And then we had no back four then. At that point, we had no back four.
Yeah.
So the injuries we've got now aren't as bad. And we've got young players that have come in. Luke Thomas on the left.
He's very good.
He'll start tomorrow, but he's played in Europe. He scored in Europe. Players are actually standing up to the mark. So you've got to, purely on history, I think you've got to be slight favourites.
Yeah, I think for me, I think United would be favourites coming into this game, just because I think the boost of Paul Pogba coming back, and we talked off camera about this, is that I think he gives us that extra bit of confidence going forward. I think the team is a lot more progressive. You've seen it with Milan last night. The minute Paul Pogba comes on the pitch, though we pushed 10 yards up the pitch, the backline were more confident. We were more progressive in midfield. There was a link between midfield and attack, which we have. I know United, we've been winning games 1-0, and we've been nicking wins in the last couple of weeks. But what we haven't seen in the last couple of weeks is a link between the midfield and attack. It's all been kind of disjointed, the attacks. But when Paul Pogba was on last night, you could see United were sustaining attacks. I look at the situation with this weekend. I think we're slight favourites, but it's a cup game. Form goes out the window, and the FA Cup, we know the magic of the FA Cup is always there. When you look at both teams' injury problems this season, I think we in terms, definitely the last 6 weeks anyway, I think both clubs have done fantastically well in terms of maintaining their positions, in the top four, just to sustain them positions. So I think both teams have done well. And Greg has alluded to here in the comments with regards to Leicester as well. Greg's a United fan on this channel. Greg has said, if United had Leicester's sorts of injuries throughout the season, we won't be top four. Brendan Rodgers is an elite coach. I agree. I didn't rate Brendan Rodgers when he was at Liverpool and Celtic, but he's after winning me over since he's come to Leicester. I think, Sean, would you agree? Would he be in that bracket now of obviously the Pochettinos, the Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiolas, in terms of the top coaches in the league, in terms of getting the best out of their team?
Yeah, I think he'd be in the same level as kind of your Poch and even Tuchel there. Obviously, Pep and your Klopp are kind of the two in the elite here, I think. But I think Rodgers, Tuchel, Pochettino, kind of Ancelotti, maybe those kind of four coaches are at that level, and I would have Rodgers up there now. I'd be the same as you. Kind of when he was at Liverpool, didn't rate him too much. I just thought he kind of didn't see things out. Kind of they have good runs, and even the league title at the time, they had a great chance of winning it and bottled it. But I think he's kind of.
What happened there, Sean? What happened there, Sean? What happened?
Demba bad slip. No, I think he's kind of spell at Celtic actually taught him a lot, and he's come back to Leicester now, and I think he's a lot better than when he was in his spell at Liverpool. He's come on a lot, and he's a very, very good coach. Very good coach.
Can I just come back on? First of all, can I just say Eden Hazard is a god for Leicester? I mean, yeah. I know it's over 38 games, but I do have a soft spot for him now. Rodgers, I think Leicester's made for Brendan Rodgers, to be honest with you. Yeah. A lot of people are saying, will he go to a big club? And I think he will, probably, but not too soon. Because I think if he leaves Leicester too soon, he'll get a bit of a reputation after the way he left Celtic.
Yeah.
He has sometimes, we've looked at his team selection and we've gone, what the hell are you up to, Brendan? I mean, I'll tell you, the classic was at the start of the season. We looked at the team that he'd picked for this one particular game, and it was a case of, what the hell are you doing? Did you know anything about football? And we went on to beat Man City 5-2, so it shows he knows a hell of a lot more about football than we do. He's not he doesn't go mad on the touchline like Mourinho or Martin O'Neill used to. I just think it's a match made in heaven. If he stays with us, he could keep us in the top four without necessarily actually winning it, and we'd still be very happy, and he'd have the job. He's got a bit of money behind him with the owners. He's got the new training facilities, like we've alluded to, and I think a bigger club like a Liverpool or somebody like that wouldn't be the right move for him.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he'd ever go back to Liverpool, especially how it ended. I don't think he'd go back there.
But like I said, I don't think he'd leave us to go to a Tottenham, or no disrespect to Chelsea or somewhere. I think if he does, he'll go to, maybe he'll go abroad possibly. But, there was no reason for him to leave us.
There was links with Rodgers and United, and I think at the time when it happened, when them links were there, I was like, former Liverpool manager. Anyone who watches this channel knows the disdain I have, right? It's well documented. Me and Liverpool we don't get along, man. We just
really
don't. Yeah.
Oh, Keane, this is not a Liverpool show with all the injuries you're talking about, no?
Well, yeah.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
The only club in this league who have injuries, apparently. Do you know what I mean? Look at the injuries Leicester had. Do you know what I mean? Look at the injuries United had. Spurs had injuries.
You say about Rodgers being the next Leicester manager. If you got rid of Ole, and I think you'd be wrong to, I think what he's doing, if given time, is he's rebuilding. But if Pep Guardiola was available and he wanted to come to United, would you not want him because he'd been at City?
I think that's I'd take Pep all day. I would. But, there's a difference, right? I consider Liverpool more of a rival than Manchester City. Because it's a more real rivalry. That rivalry with City, even though they're in the same city and all, doesn't feel pure. It's not pure. The rivalry at Liverpool, it's pure. It's traditional. Whereas the rivalry at City only really became prevalent because Sheikh Mansour came in and obviously pumped £1 billion into the club. So I think I take Pep Guardiola all day because imagine Bruno Fernandes under Pep Guardiola.
He'd nearly be as good as De Bruyne then.
Hey, come on now. we won't go there. We won't go there.
I really agree with Grant's comment there. I really like Schmeichel.
I was actually going to ask Chris with this comment. Do you think Casper Schmeichel is one of the most underrated players in the Premier League?
Casper Schmeichel is an amazing goalkeeper. He can't kick the ball out for toffee. If he kicks the ball upfield, it's more than likely will go out of play rather than reach a Leicester player. He's hampered a bit because Rodgers likes to play out from the back, and we saw with the second goal against United at the end of last season, he just got absolutely taken. But
Jesse Lingard, when I seen that was oh my God, Lingard of all people to get us the top four.
Yeah, but. Take that away. Goalkeepers have always got mistakes in them. I was watching a Rob Green interview, and who can not forget him at the World Cup. But yeah, he is the saves he pulls off. You can say Peter Schmeichel was his dad was an amazing goalkeeper. Casper's up there with him, and the fact of the matter is, he's doing it at a club like Leicester. We haven't. We're not. He's not just done it these last few seasons. He's done it when we're in the Premier League. When we're in the Championship. He can just pull off some worldly saves, and he has earned us so many points that he makes mistakes occasionally. Yes, we'll go mad at him, but he's the first name on the team sheet. He's captain. I think he is underrated. He's been Denmark Footballer of the Year for 2 seasons running, so that sums it up really.
Yeah. I really hate Chelsea coming up against him. And before any game, I just have this fear that he's going to have one of those games again. You're just not going to score in him. Grant's comment there about Schmeichel.
Former Falkirk FC graduate in Scotland, by the way, a former Premier League winner as well. Amazed Liverpool, United or City never went for him. Long before even Arsenal or Chelsea. I don't think Arsenal could afford him, to be fair. I think they're going to Poundland for their transfers at the moment.
He was linked with United quite a few times.
Honestly, before we signed Mendy, obviously Kepa was very out of form, and you kind of seen what happened there at the end of last year with him. I really, really wanted Chelsea to make a move for Schmeichel because I thought, obviously keepers have a longer shelf life than outfield players. Obviously, he's kind of pushing on age, but I just thought kind of with his age and stuff, I know he's Leicester captain and he's very important. I thought he mightn't, obviously Leicester, like he said, they're in a position now that if you're going to buy a Chilwell or Maguire, you have to pay premium to get him. I was kind of hoping maybe Schmeichel's age mightn't be as expensive. Kind of get him in. If you got him in for a few years, I think he's just a fantastic keeper. I would have loved him at Chelsea.
I'm
really
not
good
sure
goal.
that he would go, to be honest with you. He is. It's amazing to think that he wasn't bothered for coming to the club at the start when we first signed him from Leeds. But he's got the. I mean, you know, when we had the disaster with the chairman a few years ago, he was at the forefront of, you know, he wanted to run and try and get them out. He's got such a bond with the club, and I know,
Yeah,
you know, a lot of the time money speaks, but I think he will end his career with us and then go on to probably a coaching role or something. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Hmm.
He's obviously given you some great memories over the year with the Premier League win and all the runs he's been getting. In terms of FA Cup, what kind of memories stick out for you, even if they're before kind of Casper Schmeichel's time? What would be your kind of favourite memories of the FA Cup as a Leicester fan?
We don't have any. We've been in the final 4 times and we've lost 4, more than any other club in history. That we, you know, more finals and never won one. Always the bridesmaid, unfortunately. The funny thing was, I was watching earlier from 2012, and it was Leicester Chelsea in the quarterfinal, and it came up on the Emirates Facebook page, and it was when you had Torres. And you beat us, I think it was 5-1 or 5-2, something like that. We haven't got I've got a few bad memories when we've sort of been knocked out by non-league teams and what have you. And as recently, like, you know, Newport under Claude Puel. But I suppose for me personally, the furthest I can remember us being in the FA Cup was I can't remember the exact year. It was 82 or something like that. It was at the height, the Falklands War had just kicked off, and we had a quarter-final against Shrewsbury at Filbert Street, and we went through 3 goalkeepers in the game, and we didn't have a substitute goalkeeper in those days.
He could have done with Schmeichel then.
No, we could have done with him then. No, I tell you what, we had Mark Wallington in goal, and we went 2-1 down, and he was injured, and he had to go off after the second goal because it was, you know, he couldn't get to it. Alan Young, who was our striker, went in goal. He then got injured because he went over somebody and fell from a height. Steve Lynex, who actually he comes on the show an awful lot on Leicester Till I Die. Steve Lynex, who was a winger, shortest man on the pitch, he went in goal. And then Alan Young came back on and he went back in goal, and we won 5-2. Those are the days of Gary Lineker as well. Yeah. But we then went to Villa Park, played in the semi-final, and we lost 2-0 to Tottenham, and they had our dealers, and they went on to beat Man City, I think it was that year, in the final. So, to be honest with you, that was probably, you know, we didn't do ourselves justice in the semi-final, but that game, you never fit. Talk to any Leicester fan can talk to you for like 3 hours about that game. It was, you know, the final. Yeah,
I might actually try and catch up with that and see if there's clips on that. That sounds like a very entertaining game.
There is some clips, believe me.
yeah. No, I'm gonna I'll look at that after this podcast. Yeah. That'll be good.
It was an amazing game.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds like it. In terms of kind of Chelsea, obviously we have good memories over the last kind of 10, 20 years in the FA Cup. Kind of we've won a few of them even before Roman came in, but I suppose we had, like, obviously the first FA Cup final at the new Wembley against United when Drogba scored the extra time winner. That's obviously up there. Yeah, obviously the new Wembley, the experience kind of back then was obviously United and Chelsea were kind of taken over then as the 2 kind of dominant teams in England for that kind of period when Sir Alex was there and Mourinho was over Chelsea. But we had that, and then we had, under Conte, the 4-2 win against Spurs in the semi-final. Matic scored that thunderbolt is another one, but I still think my favourite memory of them all isn't even a final. It's semi-final a couple of years ago when we won it, played against Spurs.
Great game, yeah.
A very big game, but we beat them 5-1, absolutely trashed them. But it's just the Drogba goal from that game. It always sticks in my head. I think it's my favourite Chelsea goal that I've seen is he kind of took it down on the chest. He was about 25, 30 yards out with Gallas on his back, but he kind of turned out onto his bad foot volley from the edge of the box, but he buried the top corner. But I remember Lampard scored a free in that game too, and Mata got a goal that actually didn't look like it crossed the line. But it's just very good to kind of to trash a rival, obviously London rival in the semi-final by that much, and kind of show our dominance and who are the bigger club and who's the best club in London. Like, it's kind of it's a good memory to have. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, Keane kind of obviously United have a lot of FA Cup memories too. Kind of what ones spring to mind for you?
Like there's a lot of them. I think personally for me, probably my most favorite one, probably is Lingard's goal in 2016 against Crystal Palace, and that was just dramatic. Like Jesse Lingard's was one of my favorite United players at the time because he came through the academy and he's obviously one of our own, and obviously to score a goal, then was obviously massive for me. I remember being in the pub that day, like it was just absolute delirium when he scored the goal. Everyone went absolutely crazy. But there's a couple actually, like for me, like Millwall beating Millwall 3-0 in the 2004 FA Cup final, and one of the first it was the first FA Cup final I watched as a child. Very good game. Obviously that was the first trophy that Cristiano won at the club as well. Obviously the first of many. Joe, when he was at the club, was Roy Keane's last trophy as well at the club, obviously before he left. So that sticks in the memory. Obviously I wasn't watching the time, but I've obviously watched the game loads of times. Obviously Ryan Giggs against Arsenal. That goal. Look, that speaks for itself in terms of his quality and what he done. I know it's not a final memory, but Lingard at the Emirates, Alexis Sanchez scored against his former club literally just a couple of months after leaving them, and then obviously Lingard made the Emirates his dance floor, as he always does. That's a standout FA Cup memory as well. So yeah, there's obviously there's a lot because we've done a lot in the FA Cups historically. Obviously not as of late, but historically, like we've done the great things. And actually, I thought completely have to go over my head. I went to the FA Cup final in 2018 against Chelsea. I know they beat us. I remember you were texting me that weekend, like saying I'd love to be at the game or whatever. But to meet so many Manchester United fans from all over the world, and kind of the overall occasion was better than the game. To be fair, like I think the sing song before the game was probably better than the game itself. The sing song was unbelievable. I literally just I went out to sit on my seat for the game with no voice, and I had to sing during the game. It was pretty much impossible. But yeah, look, they'd be my favorite kind of FA Cup memories. It's going to come to a comment here from Shane as well. Shane's FA Cup memory is also 2016. He says his favorite FA Cup moment was Wayne Rooney assist in the final under Louis van Gaal. Love seeing Rooney lift the trophy and complete the
Keane, was that Rooney's first FA Cup?
Yeah, that was the only trophy he didn't win at United.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, 2016, because we lost the final in 2005, which I don't want to mention that because we all know who will be bigging up in the comments if we mention what team won that day. But yeah, just that was Shane's favorite FA Cup memory. But look, the FA.
I was just going to say, you're probably too young to remember this, and I've just Googled it to check the year, but 1979, which was the Man United Arsenal final.
No, I don't remember. I've actually never seen that game.
That's you should Google it because it's I'm just saying it's known as the 5-minute final, and I think Arsenal were like 2-1 up with about 5 minutes to go, and it was all set to go to extra time. You'd got the equaliser and you won it 3-2.
Yeah, I'll have to look up that game later on, definitely, because there's a website.
Sorry, Arsenal won it 3-2. Sorry, I should have said that. Keep looking it up. It was a great game. It was an amazing final. You should still look it up.
Yeah.
Oh no, I hate watching the games United lose. It kills me, especially to that lot, especially against Arsenal. Oh. But just come to a couple other comments with regards to FA Cup memories. Eamon says FA Cup Cantona against Liverpool, 1996, the year I was born. I'm lucky he retired because I was nearly named after Eric Cantona. Madly, I was named after Roy Keane, so I would have been named Cantona going to school in Ireland. That wouldn't have went well for me. That would not have went well for me. Shane also says Pogba making Dembele his bitch in the semi-final in 2018 was a nice moment too. I agree. Paul Pogba owned the pitch that day. That was a fantastic performance. But obviously, we've just come to the end of the show now. Fantastic chat with Chris and Sean and also Phil, who was on earlier on. Obviously, great FA Cup memories from all the lads. Great to get their insights on both clubs. And thanks very much, Sean, also for co-hosting. This is the first time we've done a co-host because we both host the United show and the Chelsea and the London show on this channel.
It's the Chelsea show, Chelsea Real London.
Yeah. So we call it the Chelsea show, even though I think Steve McGrath and the boys will go mad now that I said that. Look, it's fantastic to get everyone's insight tonight, especially on all the different clubs. And Chris, to get your insight today on Leicester was quite refreshing because we haven't had any Leicester fans on the channel since our inception in April last year, and I found it really fascinating to get kind of your insight on kind of on Leicester City.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
No,
absolutely.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
An absolute pleasure. So just before we wrap up, obviously both games are big for both clubs. Chelsea against Sheffield United, United against Leicester. So with regards to this, score predictions. Gonna go Chelsea first. Sheffield United. Come to you first, Sean. What's your score prediction for Sunday?
No, I'm gonna go for 4-0 Chelsea. I don't think maybe we won't hit the 5 or 6, but I'll go for a 4. I don't see Sheffield United breaking Chelsea's defence down.
So you're going to go about 5-0?
4-0. I'll go for 4. Yeah.
4-0.
I don't think we're going to play full strength. So.
Yes, so you're going to go 4-0 Chelsea. Chris, what's your score prediction for Chelsea versus Sheffield United?
I would have said 3-0 because I think, like Sean, I think if you went full strength, I think you'd be looking at 5-6. I think it'd be a cricket score. But again, Chelsea had a midweek game, so I still think you'll have too much for them. I think it'll be 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. Both lads going for cricket scores. For me, since both lads went for cricket scores, I'm going to go for a low scoring game just to be different. I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. Sheffield United scoring. I like going for an outside result. Realistically, probably Chelsea will probably hammer them, to be fair, but I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea just to be different, just for the sake of it. But look, Chelsea will win this game, no doubt. I think they've plenty of quality up front, and maybe 2-1 is me being more hopeful and hoping to see a rival maybe slip up than kind of expectation, to be quite honest. So with regards to United versus Leicester, obviously another big game this weekend. Sean, going to come to you first because obviously you have kind of an outside opinion on this game. For yourself, how's it going down? Both teams are really close in the league and they both have injuries. How do you think it's going down?
I think it's going to be very, very similar to AC Milan United. I think, say the first half, if McTominay and Fred do start for United, I think that Leicester are going to dominate the ball, but I do think United are going to come away with a win. I'm going to go for 2-1 United, but not to be. I don't think United are going to be really impressive. I think it's going to be 2-1. They'll get through the round.
Yeah, Amy also has your thoughts. She says 2-1 United. Bruno Fernandes penalty for the winner. Yeah, absolutely. Bruno penalty as Amy. You expect that from Amy in the comments. Chris, for yourself, how do you think it's going down?
I just think the shock at somebody saying United might get a penalty against us. I think that's easier to predict than the score. I mean, I was just checking then, and to be honest with you, we might as well give you the game now because Mark Lawrenson predicted we're going to beat you, and he knows absolutely nothing, Mark Lawrenson. So we'll just give you the game now. I actually think it's going to be high scoring. I get generally. 2-1 is my favourite scoreline that I go for because we are, I say, our defence is a little bit iffy. If Pogba's on form, I think there's going to be goals, to be honest with you. I really do. You got Inacho is on fire at the moment. And if we play as well, I know it's the Sheffield United and I know, Manchester United is a totally different proposition, but I think it's going to be a ding-dong battle. And I'm actually going to go 3-2 to Leicester.
Ooh. High scoring game, 3-2 to Leicester. Is one question though.
I'm not going to predict against my own team, am I?
I know. One question I have to ask is, does Vardy score?
I'm going to go yes, because he hasn't scored in 14. And every week we keep saying, this is when it's going to turn around. This is when it's going to turn around. But in fairness, Man United, Arsenal, all the bigger teams play to his strengths. You know, where a lot of the sort of the Southamptons, the Fulhams and that, they'll sit back and he hasn't got the space behind. I think United will give him the space behind to get over there. And if Perez and Iheanacho would play like they played against Sheffield United, I think, you know, he was very close against Sheffield United, you know, hit the post. The last goal, the fifth goal, was a sort of deflection, so it was an own goal. But I think he's due a goal, and I think you'll give him the space. And yes, I do think he'll get one.
Yeah, he's always a threat, Jamie Vardy. I think regardless how well we're playing defensively, you always kind of have to think about though Vardy and his threats. But for me, I'm the only person that's going to say, did you say 2-1 or you say 1-0, Sean?
2-1 I went for.
2-1. Yeah, I'm going to go 1-0. Manchester United. I think it's going to be a cagey affair. I think United, what we have done recently is we've defended very well in the last seven or so games. I think Harry Maguire has been outstanding. I've given him his fair share of criticism this year. I've given Victor Lindelof his fair share of criticism this season, but two of them have really stood up in the last kind of seven or so games. They've defended really well. I think Luke Shaw, we haven't even mentioned him on tonight's show, but I think at this season he's been the best left back in the league. I think he's been absolutely outstanding. I think if he plays well on Sunday, that's if he starts, because I talk Tellez might play, they might give Shaw a rest, but Luke Shaw starts on Sunday. I think he'll do. I think when you look at like Iheanacho and Perez in around that front three, I think he can hold them at bay. I think obviously Paul Pogba plays. It's very important for our balance of play. So for me, I'm going to go 1-0 Manchester United. KG affair. It won't be easy by any stretch of the imagination. I think Leicester will give us a tough game. But if Harry Maguire plays well and Dean Henderson starts in goal, quite confident that United can keep a clean sheet and we can go to King Power and nick a result. And I'm going to go with, in terms of my goal scorer, I'm going to go with Paul Pogba again. I'm going to go with Paul Pogba getting on the score sheet as well and just proving all these people who wanted him out, but they're all crying for him to stay. And you know who you are. I'm not going to mention names, but you know who you are, guys. You all said he's overrated. You all said that he doesn't deserve to put on a Manchester United shirt, but now you're all begging him to stay. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a 1-0 United win. I'm going to go Paul Pogba to score, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we go through, because this is one team I wanted to avoid in the FA Cup.
Do you know this is totally unfair, because last season we went out at this stage 1-0 to Sean's team, so you're ganging up on me here, aren't you? You know? the thing that keeps me going is that Ollie reminds me a little bit of Brendan in the fact that both of them have got a bad game in them.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the way we went out of Europe to Slavia Prague, I put down to Brendan. But I think Ollie can do that as well. You know, you can, you know, you come off the back of that win and he'll come out and pick a team that is defensive, or you'll look at and you'll go, what the bloody hell's that, Ollie? So hopefully he'll have one of those games and pick a really strange team. And Pogba has an off game as well. Yeah.
Do you know what, though? I've stopped questioning all these team selections a long time ago, because there's been times I've hammered him for his team selections and then we go out and batter a team. So I've stopped doing that now, like, you know, for a long time. So I remember we played Leeds and I seen our team selection that day. And I remember saying, what in God's name is he doing? Like, I was going ballistic. And then we scored in the first few seconds of the game. We put 6 past Leeds. I went mad about a team selection doing in the Champions League against PSG. We go to PSG and we beat them. So like for now on, I'm just like, when he picks a team, I zip it up, and I'm like, look, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of them. But thanks very much to both of the guys for coming on tonight, and also Phil again. As I said, both channels, Chris's channel, Leicester ITV, his link for his channel is in the video description. Do check it out. They did do a Manchester United versus Leicester preview on that channel. Do check that out and to hear the opposition's view. Obviously, I know a majority of United fans watch this show, and Chelsea fans too, and that too. So do go over to that side, get the opposition view, and see to what they have to say. Because, like, I think for me, I always do with these big games, especially the big games, I not only watch United channels and stuff like that, but I watch rival channels. It's good to get insight, and kind of gives you more of a kind of broad understanding as kind of how the game goes. And also do check out Phil's channel as well, Beyond the Pitch. He interviews a lot of Manchester United players. He recently interviewed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Luke Shaw, Michael Carrick, Kieran McKenna on his channel. So do check that out. The video is in the link description. And also subscribe to the weekly Armchair Kickoff, and do check out the London Lowdown show that Sean will co-host me today. He does host that show every week too. We were going to do the London Lowdown tonight, but I said, look, it's a better idea just to kind of, I suppose, mix the two up. Let's make two shows into one. And we said, look, we'll do a bit of co-hosting tonight. It's something different. And I think, who knows, I really enjoyed the show tonight. I think it went really well. So I think me and Sean may do more of this in the future in terms of co-hosting, because I think we got along well tonight and we didn't kill each other. So that's a kind of it's a good start. And thanks to everyone in the comments as well tonight. You smashed it, and do share the video across your socials as well. Every bit of support is massively appreciated, and it goes a long way in terms of helping us grow and kind of helping us get out there that bit more. But thanks very much everyone for watching, and especially this late time of night. And then look, let's hope the football does deliver us good entertainment on the weekend during this lockdown period. And I hope, for my sake, that United get a win, because I know we need Ollie to get that first trophy. I really need that. But other than that, thanks very much everyone for watching. Hope you all enjoy your weekend. Until next time, we see you in the while.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, guys.